Hello and welcome everyone. Allow me to introduce myself. I am the Dungeon Master for Off the Beaten Quests, an unofficial Dungeons & Dragons actual play. My name is Justin Fussell and I crafted the world of Aarencia, and it is entirely homebrew. Aarencia is a sprawling landscape making up over 7 different continents and various kingdoms and villages and towns. It is over 1,000 years old and it is filled with magic and mystery at every corner. We did start out in 5e rules, but shifted to D&D 1 once the new Player's Handbook released and have since also incorporated the new Dungeon Master's Guide. Off the Beaten Quests Campaign 1 will pick up mid-campaign at session 61, so allow me to get you up to speed on all that has happened in the sessions prior. Our story begins with the High Elf Aarencia, a skilled adventurer in training alongside the half-amethyst and half-topaz gem dragonborn Incendiite Minot Joyello, also known as Cindy, an heir to the famous clothing empire Minots. They both started out in a group of adventurers called Killer Chaos. The rest of the group comprised of 2 other player characters, an Eladrin elf, Selendor Arendorn, a well-traveled bard, and a changeling by the name of Yoon with multiple and often unstable personalities. Yoon mainly went by her dominant personality Aurelia Thalion, which was the form of an elven druid. Through their travels with the Killer Chaos, Ira met Jax, a changeling and brother-like figure from Yoon's tribe in the Fey realm, which would become her love interest later on. It is when the group visited the Shalestone College of Aarencia that another player character joined the table by the name of Millie Steingard, a half-elf cleric in search of her lost sister. She eventually joined their ranks. The group then ventured off to Oromar City to visit Cindy's hometown and see her father, while helping Tuxlop Davarish, a half-Tabaxi, half-Parangon male, a highly ranked adventurer, find a foe from his past known as the Burn Man. As the group entered Oromar City, they were instantly attacked by an evil lich from Selendor's past. The lich now wielding an ancient piece of magical technology known as a Marian Heart, and ultimately caused Sel's abrupt demise. As the group reeled from this loss, Cindy decided to go where she could find comfort and head to her family home and see her father, even though he may still be grieving as she'd lost her mother in a tragic house fire only months before. Ira, Jax, Millie, and Aurelia gave her space, and they explored the city. Upon Cindy's arrival, she discovered that her father had found a new romantic partner by the name of Paulina Mendoza, an amethyst gem dragonborn who had a very close resemblance to her late mother. It's later that night, while sleeping, Jax was woken up to the sound of a scuffle in the next room. Jax went to investigate, slowly opening the door to discover Aurelia in her base form of Yoon, but with fire-like hair and bright white glowing eyes. Jax recognized this to be a part of her fire genasi form based around pure anger and hate, known as Numok. This hybrid form of Yoon standing atop an unconscious Millie, with white tendrils of energy connecting Yoon to Millie, seemingly draining some form of energy from Millie. While at the same time, Yoon began shifting in small bits to taking on characteristics of Millie. Seeing Jax now in the doorway, Yoon turned to him with a loud screech, grabbing Millie by the neck. Yoon, still in this hybrid form, set her hands ablaze and her fiery grasp began to burn through Millie's neck, decapitating her. Yoon then turned her attention on Jax, attacking him in the same way as Millie, with the white energy tendrils. In a struggle, Jax reached for Millie's mace and put an end to Yoon with a swift downward blow to the head. With Yoon now deceased, her body began to rise, floating above the ground with white energy outstretched from her, shooting out the window and into the sky. This energy was seen stretching far across the night sky as if connecting to others a distance away, even connecting to a now deceased Millie. Once the energy fully exited Yoon's body, the white energy began to fade into a white luminous dust, and Millie's body disintegrated into the same white luminous dust. Ira had been woken up to the fight, and as she discovered the scene, began to console Jax, knowing full well what happened. They knew they needed to tell Cindy, and when they arrived at Cindy's house before dawn, Cindy groggily answered the door, and Ira and Jax filled her in on what had just happened. The 3, now reeling from the loss of all of their friends, discussed how they would move forward, and the players sitting at the table dwindled to just Ira and Cindy. Meanwhile, entering a tavern through a dimension door spell, just narrowly escaping the attack of the lich, Tuxlop stepped out. He walked up to the bar and grabbed a drink for himself, and not knowing if the party he was with had survived, he sought out solitude. He approached a table with a hooded figure thinking that he would be left alone. It's at this moment a new player to the table was introduced, a Triton barbarian by the name of Roman Altine. They both introduced themselves to one another, and a few moments later the bard playing in the tavern grabbed a drink and made his rounds. He finally approached the table where Tuxlop and Roman were sitting. Here another player joins the table, that being Noah, introducing himself as Lucia Oliver, an Aesimer bard. Although he appeared to be human, they learned later that he was in fact an Aesimer. Their pleasantries were quickly interrupted by a duo of Tritons entering the tavern in search of Roman. Lukiel and Tuxlop devised a plan and helped sneak Roman out of the tavern, but wound up in a pursuit with the two Tritons anyways. Lukiel, knowing the city well, helped them escape, and the three found refuge in a nearby inn where they all stayed the night. The next morning, things shifted gears drastically when Cindy left her father's townhome without telling Jax or Ira. They found out that she had gone to help her father and Paulina prepare for the Merchants' Day Festival, which is a weekend-long festival honoring the merchants of Ormar City. It's during this event that many merchants of the city hold showcases highlighting things that they've created or will sell soon. Many merchants often even travel into the city to celebrate and sell their goods as well. This had struck them as very out of character for Cindy. She had made her feelings towards Paulina quite clear when they had arrived earlier that morning. As they left Cindy's home to go find her, they ran into Tuxlop. He was relieved to see that they were alive. Ira and Jax quickly filled him in on the losses that they had faced. Tuxlop, struck by this news, reeled for a moment. But not long after, he introduced Ira and Jax to Lukiel and Roman. He explained that he needed them to stay with them for a while to keep Roman safe. And this newly assembled group headed to talk with the adventurant outpost in the city about Roman's kingdom of origin and to request further assistance in keeping him safe. After which they went to find Cindy. They found her at the Minot's flagship store in the heart of the city, and it didn't take long to quickly realize that Cindy was under some sort of charm, as she was never this compliant with Paulina before. Through some clever rolls and with the help of a necklace Cindy was wearing that once belonged to her mother, she was freed from the charm. Cindy, now back in her clear state of mind, realized that Paulina was the source of the charm and deduced that Paulina had placed a much stronger charm on her father. Through some investigating around Minot's, they discovered this was all a part of Paulina's sinister plot to take over the Minot clothing empire. The group quickly devised a plan to stop Paulina during the Merchants' Day Festival, and they executed this plan with the help of an old flame from Cindy's past, Scarlet, an acrobat from a circus the former party had helped to liberate. The confrontation of Paulina resulted in an altercation at the Minot's fashion show at the town square, where Paulina was revealed to be Cindy's late mother's sister from a dragonborn settlement known as Dragis. Through a tough fight, Paulina met her demise at the hands of Roman's royal trident, and Cindy's father snapped out of Paulina's powerful charm and was left a broken man. Tuxlop reminded the party of the Burn Man and that he had been given information from an informant in town about his whereabouts. The newly formed party of Ira, Jax, Roman, and Lukiel decided to head out of the city. Cindy decided she needed to stay behind to help her father heal and rebuild. This is where the player Ali G's character of Cindy had left the group. Ira and Jax said a heartfelt goodbye and the new party was off. The new group of Iratan, Jax, Lukiel Oliver, and Roman Altine, accompanied by Tuxlop, stowed away in a ship headed for Dustwater on the desert continent of Corson. On the boat, stowed away in the same secret compartment as the group, was Eliana Silmare, an Eladrin elf currently in her spring form, stowed away in one of the cargo boxes. Enter in Ali G's new character. The group talks and quickly gain her help when a sharkened bounty hunter by the name of Thrash attacks the ship in search of Roman. The battle resulted in Thrash ultimately fleeing, and Eliana agreed to join the party. And as they reach Dustwater, the group quickly pays for a small boat to take them to a tiny island off the coast of Corson, where the Burn Man is suspected to be, and deal with him first. Once they get there, they find the Burn Man and the Lich that killed Selendor conversing and talking about how they had been working together the whole time. Eliana too, recognizing the Lich from her past, and is affected by his presence, and ultimately the group is seen, and a battle ensues. The Lich meets his end amidst the battle, but the Burn Man escapes with the boat they came to the island with. After a small attempt to pursue the Burn Man, he unfortunately was able to get away. Once the group was able to make their way back to the town of Dustwater, they reeled from the battle a bit and explored the town. Around this time, Roman's trident began to have an adverse effect on him, as he'd been using it more frequently, and revealing a curse he'd been dealing with that he kept unknown to the group. Later that night, Eliana has a vision while meditating, and has an interaction with her god Florenia. It is through this interaction that Florinia reveals herself to be vile and abusive for the first time. The next morning, Eliana meets up with the group for breakfast with bruises on her she didn't have before, and Ira quickly realizes there's something going on that Eliana isn't telling the rest of the party. The party explores the town more, attempting to resupply before leaving, and meets a human with a cowboy-like demeanor named Dalton Spurgis. He explains that he's been hired by the town to help with an orc problem, and later that night, the party settle down to unwind. Their night is interrupted by a group of attacking orcs that Dalton fends off before the group could even step in to assist. It's later that next morning that the group asked around a little bit more about the orcs' attack, and continued to ask Dalton some more questions as he explained that there's a tribe of orcs nearby that stakes a claim to the land of Dustwater known as the Vitguts tribe. Ira and Tuxlop, being adventurers, decided to act as emissaries in order to help negotiate with the leader of the Vitguts tribe. Thus, the group sets off in that direction. Through their travels, they battle the elements of the desert, ultimately winding up at the outskirts of the tribe. They come up with a plan to make their way inside without causing issue. Roman, Lukiel, and Eliana are to stay and keep watch outside, while Tuxlop, Ira, and Jax, using his changeling abilities to take on the form of an orc, head off into the tribe. The three that went into the camp talk with the leader Yethra and learn that the orcs sent into Dustwater are mainly there to find her missing daughter Civ, who had gone into Dustwater several days ago and never came back. Outside, the three that waited to keep watch were all stricken over the heads and knocked out, and Roman was taken by a group of Sharkins. When the party regroups, they find Eliana and Lukiel waking up on the ground. They investigate nearby where Roman was taken and find the bag of holding with his trident inside buried in the sand, beside the remnants of a water portal of some kind. The group heads back to Dustwater and confronts Dalton, hypothesizing that he had something to do with Civ's disappearance. He denies the whole thing, but mentions how he and his allies, Delilah and Butch, saw the girl head off towards Fort Quarry. As the party is guided in the direction Civ was said to have headed, they are stopped on their travels and attacked by a giant purple worm, and in the heat of the battle, they are left to die by Dalton, Delilah, and Butch. The party defeats the worm, and upon killing it, they hear a voice inside faintly yelling for help. When they cut the worm open, they find a barely alive Civ. The party heals her, and she reveals how Dalton and his allies are a mercenary group and that they were taking advantage of the conflict, siphoning the town for protection money, working with Dustwater's mayor. Ira sends a message via a sending stone she had given to Yethra, saying that they have Civ and to meet them in Dustwater. Once back in Dustwater, Ira, Lukiel, Eliana, Jax, and Tuxlop confront Dalton and his allies. A large battle ensues. Yethra and her tribe of orcs show up to help. Just before the group can kill Dalton, Delilah, and Butch, a small group of shadowy dreamlike figures arrive and take the three away, disappearing into thin air. Once the battle ends, Dustwater and the Vitguts tribe make an arrangement to put Civ in charge, and the mayor is taken into custody by Tuxlop, thus ending the years-long conflict between Dustwater and the Vitguts tribe. Ira asks Yethra if she knows how they can find their friend Roman, and she tells the party of a powerful scrying mage in the town of Oasina. A portal opens up outside of Dustwater so that Tuxlop can head back to the adventurers' headquarters with the mayor in custody. Not long after, an adventurer sheriff by the name of Jessamy Maverick, someone Ira met on their past adventures with her previous party, comes out of the portal, arriving to help establish an adventurers' outpost there in Dustwater, working with Civ. Ira, Eliana, Lukiel, and Jax set off to Oasina, and in the nights of the journey, Jax deals with his loss of Yoon and how he feels about the whole thing. Ira consoles Jax and their relationship grows stronger. One of the other nights in this journey, Eliana is contacted by someone in the stars, indicating that the Florinia she knows and has been in contact with could be a false god. Once in Oasina, the party experiences the Maven Festival, occurring on the autumn equinox that is happening simultaneously as their arrival. During this festival, Eliana takes on her autumn form in celebration of Maven, and the four meet the next player character to join the group, Nina, playing Dawn Heartsmead, a pink furbolg barbarian that's 8 feet tall. She is attempting to scry with the same mage the party sought help with. Dawn is in search of a land with pink trees and is directed towards Bountifolia, the same place Ira had been called to some time ago to speak with the Emperor about her patron Nylea's missing links, Halma. This leads Dawn to join the party and help them find Roman, and then head to Bountifolia. They discover that Roman is being held in a cove in Scavengeport, a small pirate settlement off the coast of Corson, and can be accessed via a small discreet vessel leaving Oasina's coast. They all agreed on a plan and headed off to Scavengeport on a rescue mission for Roman. Meanwhile, the whole time Roman is being held captive, Roman discovers his brother-in-law, Lexorth Lugan, the head of the Lugan family that took the monarchy from the Eltine family, had the group of Sharkins capture Roman. These Sharkins, led by Thrash, the same one that had attacked him on their way to Corson, continued to beat and torture Roman to find where he had hid the trident. Lexorth eventually shows up to question Roman on where he hid the trident, hitting him a few times himself and even threatening Ketch, Roman's sister, Lexorth's wife. Roman keeps up his resolve, never revealing anything. When he is left alone one night, his sister visits him against Lexorth's wishes. She leaves him a small note buried in the sand at his feet, but ends up leaving in a hurry so as not to alert Lexorth. The party makes their way to the pirate settlement and successfully infiltrates it, where they find where Roman is and set him free just in time for a huge battle between the Sharkins and the party to ensue. This battle results in the whole party being knocked unconscious one by one. As Ira is almost killed, something inside her erupts with an arcane surge, and a massive wave of blue energy erupts through the small cave in a last-ditch effort to save everyone. However, she still falls unconscious. Roman, being the last one standing just before he goes unconscious, sees an airship blast through the ceiling and a group of individuals later to be revealed to be allies of Ira's from her home in Port of Mar break into the cove and save everyone. The party is brought to Port of Mar via airship, where they recover and meet people from Ira's past, including her mother and father. As they land, Dawn says she will meet them in Bountifolia and goes off ahead. The group learns a lot while in the Port of Mar. This is also where Eliana stands up to Florenia in one of her meditative connections and fights back, striking Florenia, severing the bond, or at least the mental connection Florenia had with her. Through some asking around, Ira learns that the magic surge she felt is related to her Marian bloodline, and she even learns about the fall of the Marian Empire some time ago from her father. This downfall being the almost apocalyptic event that destroyed the entire continent of Mar and affected magic in the realm for hundreds of years. Ira also learns of Lukiel's celestial heritage and connections to the downfall of Mar as an Asimir descendant of the male that led the counterattack against the Empire of Mar. Lukiel even carries around a journal written in Celestial that he's been deciphering, that of his ancestor. The group also learns that Roman is slowly mentally diminishing because of the use of his trident. He opens a note that he got from his sister, and it mentions that his wife and kids were in danger. It's around this time, too, that Jax and Roman grew closer, as Jax had been keeping a close eye on things and making sure Roman was okay as his condition worsened. The group, with the help of a husband and wife duo by the names of Akira and Zaina Harker, sneak the group into an underground facility beneath a massive structure in the center of the continent known as the Centurion Spire, the same continent that Port of Mar resides within. This facility is home to a massive machine with hundreds and thousands of Marian hearts connected to it, guarded by a huge dwarf-forged dragon. While in this facility, Ira has an adverse reaction to being that close to the Marian hearts. Akira takes a sample of Ira's blood to prove that there's a correlation with the hearts and Marian blood. They all evacuate the facility quickly as an alarm begins to sound as they are detected in the facility, but they make it out before being found through a teleportation spell that Akira conjures. Back in Akira and Zaina's lab, the couple gives each party member a magical item or tattoo as a gift and to celebrate their newfound alliances. Once all is said and done in Port of Mar, they ask Akira to send them to where their friend Dawn is across the realm, hoping to land in Bountifolia beside her. They successfully teleport to Dawn and arrive in Bloomhill's village, where Dawn has arrived. Now in the continent of Bountifolia, a Japanese-inspired continent, Ira is now set on meeting the Emperor, heeding his request for an audience, all the while hoping to return her hop owl friend Oyer to his home on this continent. They spend quite some time in Bountifolia learning about Nylea, the Bloom Kingdom, and that the Lynx Holma is being hunted, if not already captured by poachers affecting the continent of Bountifolia. Through their meeting with the Emperor, he discusses things about each party member that reveals his connections with the world and with nature. The Emperor reveals that Jax's parents were killed in the Fae in an attack on his tribe and at the hands of Dawn. Eliana also learns in her time that Flossidus, the god of the stars, has been trying to connect with her and that she shouldn't trust Florenia. Lukiel, while attempting to go to sleep, meets a muse that comes to him with a prophecy about an ancient song comprised of 13 different pieces that he needs to find. And Dawn is inevitably captured by the poachers alongside Eliana, who both learn that Thalorn, a former champion of Nylea, that had fallen from her grace, is now the head of a hunter's guild set on capturing rare animals for sport. Eliana and Dawn learn while captured who and what the Junichi warriors are. They are an elite group of warriors that make up the Emperor's equivalent of a Kingsguard, and they learn this from the two warriors who had also been captured, Uma the horse warrior and Hitsuji the sheep warrior. This is where the new player character joins the table. Verity Belladonna, a red tiefling rogue warlock emerges from the shadows and breaks Dawn and Eliana and the two Junichi warriors out of their cages. Thaylorn captured Halma, utilizing her connections to a Sakura dragon known as Haruyama, to lure out the dragon in attempts to capture it and stake his claim as the greatest hunter in the realm. The party heads towards their captured friends with the help of the Turtle Emperor Kunchukame's special guard called the Teenage Underwater Fighting Force, or TUF, which is made up of 6 elite grungs. The two teams infiltrate a secret hideout created underneath the Bloom Kingdom's river to take down the Hunters Guild and Thaylorn once and for all. All while Haruyama, the Sakura dragon, makes its way towards the continent, causing Bountifolia to plunge into chaos and causing a series of tremors for the continent. The group reunites and Verity joins with the party to help take down Thaylorn, and during this fight, Jax unleashes an immense amount of anger by taking it out on the hunters. Also during this fight, Roman's sister shows up out of a water portal, alerting him that she has been kicked out of the kingdom and that his wife has been taken into the castle. He looks at the party, especially Jax, with a non-verbal nod implicating his goodbyes and bolts into the portal, leaving the party behind, thus exiting the player character Roman from the table. Ira is knighted by Nylea as her champion, and takes this newfound power wielding Nylea's bow, which allows her to summon the essence of Halma with one of the 4 seasonal arrows to put an end to Thaylorn. Upon Thaylorn's death, Ira cuts off his head and takes it with her to bring to Nylea as a token of faith. With the guild dead, the group opens a set of cages where they save a kitsune, a mystical fox, and a squat, a half-bat, half-squirrel hybrid. The kitsune asks to stay with Eliana, and Eliana names her Stella. The squat befriends Jax, and he names the squat Cole. The group leaves the caves as the grungs work to clean up the mess and seal off the cave, repairing any damage the hunters made beneath the kingdom. And as they leave, Haruyama is waiting to speak to Dawn. She learns that she has a connection with the dragon, and he gives her a mark on her shoulder resembling a tattoo of himself surrounded by sakura tree branches, also granting her a special ability intertwining with her wild magic surges. The group heads back to the city, where the Emperor thanks them and orders members of the Junichi warriors to head into the kingdom and plan a celebration for the new champions of Bountifolia. While in the Emperor's chambers, Lukiel is given a piece of the song from the rabbit Junichi warrior and is set onto the trail of the next one. Since the rabbit warrior remembered the clue that was given upon finding this piece, he gave that clue to Lukiel. Throughout the Bloom Kingdom, a massive celebration ensues, honoring the great heroes that saved the continent of Bountifolia. It is at this celebration where Jax and Dawn finally try and talk out the issues from their past. Ira tries to learn more about Verity, but an entity within herself stops Verity from speaking about herself and her pact. While playing his lute on the Emperor's boat during the celebration's closing ceremonies, Lukiel zones out and ends up beginning to play the piece of song he was given subconsciously, and a magical surge erupts, causing lightning to emanate from his lute and causes a small fire in a tree across the river. This teaches Lukiel just how powerful and dangerous the song can be. Also that night, when the festival is wound down and the party ventures off to settle in for the night's rest, Dawn goes to enter her room at the inn and ends up walking through a portal into a grove in the Fey realm. Verity had other plans for the night as she took off into the streets in search of someone who could send a message home to her family. She ends up breaking into a small courier's home and attacks a woman as she is caught inside the building by the shop owner. As a means of concealing her identity, a shadow entity's voice makes her raise a dagger to the woman, just as her daughter enters the room. The shadow voice, in an attempt to keep Verity safe, makes her also raise a dagger to make an attack on the child. But she resists the shadow entity's words and flees off into the night, returning to the inn to attempt sleep. The next morning, Ira, Jax, Eliana, Lukiel, and Verity regroup to head off, realizing that Dawn is missing. But they discover a note, and upon realizing that Dawn will meet them in Hop Owl Hills and that she is safe, they agree to head off towards Hop Owl Hills to visit the animal sanctuary that Oyer is from. The party sets off on a day-long journey and ends up making it to Hop Owl Hills by nightfall. They check into the tavern and inn known as the Talon's Rest Tavern and Inn, meeting a man named Yuto, who is a former adventurer turned businessman. They get rooms to sleep in and settle in for the next day's adventure. And this is where we pick up in session 61, in the session that you, the audience, will experience alongside us. The current party consisting of Iratan, played by Ali F., Eliana Silmer, played by Ali G., Lukiel Oliver, played by Noah, Dawn Hartsmead, played by Nina, and Verity Belladonna, played by Sarah, and Jax, played by myself. We are excited to embark on this journey with you all and bring you into the world of Aarencia. And we hope that you enjoy Off the Beaten Quests Campaign 1. We'll see you in the next episode.